Call to order the USD 49 School Board meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023. Our agenda was published on board docs on Friday. We will be following the agenda tonight. I want to welcome everyone that's attending the board meeting tonight. Thanks for coming. At this time, I would like, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. President.
I've got a motion.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
I would like to,
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion?
yes, I have a couple items I'd like to add to the agenda.
I have a motion on the table and it's been seconded. If we approve the motion, we'll go on. If not, we'll come back.
These are some items that are very important to our district.
I understand that. I have a motion and second. I am going to call for a vote. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, vote no.
No.
Jess, 5-2. Okay.
4-3.
4-3. Motion passes. So the agenda is approved as published on board docs. Just 1 second. I need to update. Hang with me just a second. I have to get my computer up. Okay, 1.3, USD 49 District Mission and Vision. At the start of each board meeting, the president reads the mission statement of USD 489 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 489 Board of Education, including supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, highly effective staff, effective positive communication, effective management of resources. Also vital to keeping the focus on the district's mission and vision are that the USD 49 Board of Education supports the district's core values. Being a champion for all kids, bringing the best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, and selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for students for their future. Okay, 2.0, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would like to pull personnel out of the consent agenda, please.
Okay. Jess, if we can pull personnel and put it at 6.4. Once she has that finished, you'll need to refresh to get the updated.
Is that all you're pulling out?
Is that the only one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Board, if you'd want to refresh your computer. Okay, 3.1 is the public forum.
Oh, we need to
Oh,
vote.
excuse me. Let's vote on the consent agenda as I had a motion and a second. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, vote no. Okay, I got ahead of myself. Public Forum 3.0. The board requests that all members of the public respect the rules outlined below so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input will be given the chance. Speakers are asked to start with stating their name and address where they reside. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes to make their presentations. Speakers are asked to make only points that have not been made previously. Except to ask clarifying questions, board members shall not interact with speakers at the open forum. The board asks that all members of the public respect these rules so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input that has not already been given will have the opportunity and chance. Do I have anyone in the audience who would like to address the board tonight? Seeing none, we will go ahead to 4.1. West Side Kindness Bags Project, Ron.
Yeah, I think this will be a neat project to share.
Absolutely.
There is staff here from West Side, led by Olivia McDaniel, and she is going to start the presentation and share a little bit about what has been done this year.
It's saying I'm connected, but it's showing just my desktop, but I'm showing a PowerPoint.
Windows P is a duplicate. Or slide over to
The Windows P and I option.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, this actually is a presentation that was done by our high school classroom.
Pick this project.
Whoops. So I will let Angie start. I'm going to talk and then I'll start it. Sure.
You lost.
While she figures that out, I am Angie Ward. I am the teacher in the high school room at West Side. After the first of the year, I found out about a grant project through Hayes High, or that's geared at Hayes High for Anna's gift, and we applied for it and got approved. So I sat down with my high schoolers and we came up with a kindness project that they felt would be impactful for our community. And then we put together this PowerPoint to share with you what we did, basically.
And we had 3 high schoolers that were going to join us, but they all chickened out. So it's like, well, you just record your voice and we'll be fine. And you can tell that they're nervous in the video. So, and Ashley's going to record us presenting because they want to see it. They just didn't want to be here.
Pick this project in honor of one of our classmates who came to Westside because of a foster care placement. Even though he was in a rough spot, we watched him succeed in his 4 months at our school. He completed 7 classes.
We want to help other students in a tough spot know that we believe in them.
To start our project, we brainstormed different items that we thought would help ease the stress of this difficult time. Work together to budget how much money each package would cost and determined we could purchase 16 care packages. We planned a trip to Walmart to purchase the items we needed and use this as a lesson in math. We kept a running total to ensure we didn't go over our budget.
Through the checkout, we were Excited to learn that we had budgeted within just a few cents. Returning, we grouped the items together to make bags for 8 boys and 8 girls. All of the bags included hygiene items, pajamas, stationery items, and project notebooks. Generous donations from I Smile Dental and from the authors of My Big Notebook, JC and Carlene, we were able to make 4 more bags. Decorated the bags using vinyl that was donated by the foster mom of one of our students and added special messages into the front of each notebook.
So these are some of the messages that my kiddos wrote. It says, I hope you have a good day. You have a lot of potential. Remember, there are people that care about you. That was from Caden. He's a freshman. You're special and no one else is like you. You have potential in life, so work hard and earn your education. I wish you good luck and best wishes, Kobe, a junior. Keep your head up. Everything will get better as time passes. Don't do drugs. Connor, a freshman. And you are forever important in life. You become stronger every day. You are special. Christian, also a freshman.
So we just wanted to share this because our students have grown a lot this year, and I would say, I don't want to speak for Angie and Ashley, but we've grown a lot listening to our students. The 2 that did the recording both have been a part of PRPS, which is the psychiatric treatment facilities that are residential, and also foster care, and the things that they have shared with us and the ability for us to give them empathy and understand where they're coming from and help them excel has been a huge, huge process for all of us. One of the young men shared at his first meeting at Hayes High, he had been in 6 high schools his freshman year. He's a freshman, he's been in 6 schools since he came to us in March. And he told me, Miss Lindy, I feel like I'm a UPS package that has been shipped all over the state, and this is the first time I've been home. So I just wanted to share with you, I know we are a little school and we have a lot of going on and a lot of growing pains, but we are really working to hopefully help kids understand kindness and be able to contribute just like Anna did. I student taught when Anna was in Alaflame League. Want to share anything else, Ashley?
No, I don't think so. I mean, other than I'm just super proud of our kids. I was with them when they were writing these statements to the foster kids, and they put a lot of thought into it, what they would want to do. Yeah.
And here's how the bags turned out, one of them. It's got all their items. And the one person that, the author of this book, she adopted a young boy that had issues similar to things that we see at Westside, and her and him worked together to create a book that is for kids to help them. I'll just read this because it's easier. The purpose of the book is to provide children with their own space to understand feelings, get feelings out, and work through their emotions, self-soothe, and feel better about themselves. And my students were really adamant about the foster kids having something like this to help them, because they recognize what a difficult time it is to be removed from their parents and their homes and things that they could really relate to what these kids would be going through, and they wanted to help. And I thought that was really great. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Great project, and Lori and all of the people that were involved with that, with all the mental health stuff and the lack of empathy for some of our kids to get involved and get prepared, this is so important.
Just to add on that, this is the first year that it's been set up this way, and I really feel like it's really been a very successful first year, and I'm setting up how, taking it to, kids and giving them an opportunity to use it in ways that they see fit. So credit to you, Lori, and your husband. Great. And credit to the Westside staff for just thinking outside the box on how they can do this, and I think it's turned into a training project.
What's the likelihood you can do it again every year, or is it based on funding?
Probably based on funding. Yeah.
So, well, best wishes.
Thank you.
Okay, 5.1, Superintendent's Report. Ron?
Yeah, run through some things here real fast. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the calendar. Part of negotiations, and we're still waiting on this to be approved by our teachers, as well as when it comes to the school board. But part of the agreement of the negotiations was to look at our calendar for next year and to maybe make some changes. The last several years, the district has been utilizing early releases and have found them very successful for our professional development work. However, as we have brought in some new things to the district with some of the things that we're putting in place, it has become just obvious that early releases were not making it, just not enough time to do the work that we wanted to do. So through negotiations, and I've said this several times, one of the coolest things, and I would say probably in my short 4-year term here, this might be the coolest thing that has happened. The teachers brought forth a proposal to add 6 in-service days to the calendar to allow them to be able to do some of the professional development work that we have going. And so through back and forth and trying to figure out the right method, we came to a tentative agreement. Of course, it still is going to have to be ratified by the teachers as well as the school board, but just the calendar is what we basically have is one full in-service day for the entire district throughout the next school year each month. And so we feel like this is just a win for everybody. I think early releases were somewhat of a stressor on lots of people, including not only our staff, but also our families as they tried to figure out how to transport kids, a little earlier in the middle of the day. And especially younger kids, how to handle daycare situations and things like that. And then also just the piece where, especially for middle school kids, it's a little difficult because we were sending them home and then expecting them to come back a few hours later for athletic extracurricular practices. So just wanted to share with the board that the calendar is tentatively, it's not been finalized, but that's what the calendar is looking like possibly for next year. And just feel like it's a big win for everyone.
And Ron, very similar start and finish dates.
Yeah, the start and the finish dates have not changed. And as far as, we've gotten rid of early release days. Those 6 days will just be collaborative days for our staff to work together on whatever we have decided that is important for us to work on. And the big issue was, how do we handle classified, because that's 6 days where we're not going to have school. We've made been working with some of our directors on how that will look. They feel like they can fill that with some stuff that they've not been able to do in the past, or maybe look at things differently in how they move some things into the schedule. So we feel like we can fill that. I think also just the benefit of the work that we're going to be able to do. As far as when you think of 6 days, that doesn't mean that we're having 6 less school days, because we're going to get some of that time back because of early release. Time is going to be added back into the instructional time. So we feel like it's a real win. Just wanted to share that with the board on the calendar. Just a quick bond update. Once a reminder, once again, this Thursday, we're going to do the Roosevelt groundbreaking, and it'll be quick, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 if someone gets a little windy, but it won't be me. So, or the shovels don't go on the ground or something like that. Shouldn't take us too long. We will provide some light lunch for those that do attend. Also, this just past week, started once again. I feel like it's just a continuing cycle here. We started some pre-design meetings over the new Hayes Middle and O'Laughlin. So that was fun to get started on that. Where we will be starting on the new Hayes Elementary project here real soon, right after school gets out. So these are just, once again, starting right back at the beginning, like we've done on Roosevelt as well as the new high school. And also just the temporary modular classrooms for Roosevelt and O'Laughlin, plans are in place, and those will be put on site in July. And we'll stay there for about 3 years until we get everything built and in place. Also wanted to just update the board a little bit about our school resource officer. I know we've had some top visits at the board table about possibly adding school resource officers. Had a conversation just last week with the city of Hayes, and they notified us that they are really not at this point seeing school resource officers as something in their priority budgeting purposes. So that was disappointing, but we understand, and it takes both parties to work together, and they just don't feel like they can make that a priority. So we will not be partnering with the city to share any employment costs. So probably puts a little bit of a kibosh on the school resource officers for the upcoming school year, and we were hopeful to be able to maybe do that. Just a quick legislative update. I don't necessarily know if I have anything, that maybe you're not aware of, but once again, the school funding bill, the education bill, is still on Governor Kelly's desk as of this morning. I don't know if anything happened today. This just right now, we're just waiting to see if she will sign the bill or maybe vetoes. There could be some line item vetoes. There's definitely some things in the bill that are not good things for certain districts, not necessarily our district, but other school districts, in terms of it could really be harmful. Talking about the enrollment and not being able to go back 2 years, but looking at current year or the preceding year. And so that could be a big game changer for a lot of our small school districts. So we're just kind of still in a wait and see mode. We're hopeful, but we'll know. Well, I think Thursday is she either has to sign it or veto by Thursday. So we'll know something by Thursday.
So the biggest thing that really affects us was the non-movement on special ed funding this year.
Yeah, and
Again.
The interesting thing is that she would not be able to, she can veto line items, certain line items, but to add anything, she would not be able to do that. So that's, yes, very disappointing that we were not able to get that accomplished. I think it's even more disappointing is even at the federal level, we've seen a push at the House level that passed a bill that recommended cutting special ed funding, when we were hopeful and we heard from representatives who came back to Hayes and met at the Chamber Coffee legislative event, and they promoted that they were all in favor of adding to SPED funding, and then did not vote for it. So that's always disappointing that happens, but it is part of the process sometimes.
Mr. Wilson, the school resource officer, can you give us a price tag? Is there a price tag for what that would cost?
Well, it's the price tag that we have kind of tentatively, we're right in about the $60,000 range.
And we were asking for city to do half, and we were...
No, actually, no, we weren't asking. We were saying our thought was that we would employ that school resource officer about 180 days of the school year. A few days before, students will go about 170 days, but we have some days before, days after. That's 180 days. Then, if you look at a work calendar for the entire year, it's about 250 days, give or take. That's about 70 days that they would be employed. Summertime, some holidays where they would be available. We would not need them. So the proposal that we proposed was a 70-30 split, we would pay 70%, the city would pay 30%. That did not entice them. It's just difficult for us to pay 100% of it because there's 70 days of the school year where we will not need a school resource officer. And so, for me, it seemed a pretty logical proposal and fair going forward.
Just, I know in prior years, they said that personnel, just like all businesses, they were having trouble finding policemen to go through the training and everything. So I don't know how they have, if that's improved or whether it's all a fiscal with the city.
I don't really know. I do appreciate everything. Chief Scheibler, Assistant Chief Dawson, met with them. We still will continue to work together with our Hayes Police Department. They're wonderful. They are, all of our principals and utilize our Hayes PD when needed, and they're an awesome unit to work with. They're just amazing. They do the things that they do. We just felt like this would be a beneficial piece, could help them as well as help us, because sometimes when we pull someone off of something, we always I feel a little guilty too. So anyway, it's not going to work for next year. We'll continue to have conversations and hopefully someday down the road, once again, we're just also eyeballing that, in 3 years, we're going to have a lot of people on one site. And so it might be nice to have an officer who's just dedicated to that site. We're hopeful that maybe that can happen in the future.
Okay, good.
Mr. Wilson?
Yep.
The information or the bill that addressed selling school buildings and that the state gets first right of refusal, that it's passed, correct?
Yes, that is part of, well, I don't know if it's actually on the bill. I think it's on the bill that is still sitting on the governor's desk.
She hasn't signed it yet.
I had a legislator told me that it was already passed, so I was just curious. What does
Well,
that
it passed the Senate and the House. It's part of the bill that's sitting on her desk that will be approved if she signs it.
So how does that affect us?
Well, I'm not really real sure about that, but basically what I know is that if a district would close a building, the legislature has 45 days to make a decision whether they would choose to purchase, I believe, the current school building before the district can then go ahead and try to sell. So
That's been something that we've been talking about, tied to the bond, or if we got the bond, these are things that we would do if we sold. Mr. Jeter, what about the hearings and things like that? What's the timeline that we need to be doing? Those type of things.
We need the hearing to close the building.
The building.
Well, we can't do it until we know when it's going to be closed.
You're right.
I mean,
We're
the
probably
earliest would
looking
be
at 2 to 3 years down the road.
If everything goes according to our schedule, it should be 3 years in August, from August. So.
And any discussion of selling the building needs to be done in public, not in executive session, it has to be in public.
That's right.
Okay.
Any preliminary discussions to purchase real estate can be done in executive
Correct.
session, but not to sell real estate.
So any of the, would be proactive to maybe get appraisals and talk to, we're going to be doing that, to find out what buildings are worth. I mean, we have a county appraisal.
Well, that's a decision the board needs to make.
Yeah, I
You
tried.
have some properties that you're going to want to dispose of.
I tried to read the bill as it comes through, and like Ron said, the legislature has 45 days to give if they want to buy it for state property. And then after that 45 days, the school district could move forward.
So I guess my question is, should we start looking at, to be proactive to find out what it's worth, so that when that happens, we can act?
I wouldn't think it'd hurt to try, but I would think prices would vary a lot in 3 years if you were going out to get somebody to do an appraisal.
Appraisal's going to hold for
for 3 years.
That's a tough one to appraise too.
Yeah.
You have no comparable sales. Replacement cost would be millions of dollars, and you know that's not appropriate, so.
Yep.
What do you have? Unless you do replacement cost less depreciation, you look like a Lincoln grade school.
That prime real estate in the middle of town should be worth quite a bit.
Well,
I mean, at least to
you
get an
have
appraisal.
to find the right buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And hopefully you're right.
I think
That would be
at least we need to be looking at having some discussion on positions.
Okay, Ron, anything else on the superintendent's report?
Just the last thing, just want to congratulate our 2023 seniors who got it done yesterday. So congratulations to them, congratulations to all of our staff, pre-K 12, because as we tell people, all our staff, is we all teach seniors just at different times of their career. And so a lot of people put in a lot of work, and credit to our staff and to our seniors for making that all happen.
There was a new process this year, I think it was new this year. I don't recall my son being part of it last year, about some of the graduates actually went back in their cap and gown to their elementary school.
Yeah.
And I thought
That was
that
cool.
went viral. I saw, that was just wonderful to see the joy, the celebration on both of the faces, the younger and the older students. And so kudos to whoever came up with that idea, but I'd love to see that tradition continue.
Very neat.
Yep.
What was it, mom drug them all down there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I want to congratulate the high school staff yesterday. How big I saw a lot of the staff at the graduation helping out, and Sean and all the assistant principals. It went smooth. There was a lot of celebration, and I know the middle school, Shauna, tomorrow night at 6:30, we'll have the middle school graduation promotion also. And I know the elementaries, not to leave them out, I know all of them have set their 5th grade promotions. I get to go to one of those to see a 5th grader coming up this week. Okay, thank you. Thank you. 6.1, school fees. I know we're talking about wrapping up the school year right now, but we're looking forward to enrollment, making sure the fees are set for next year. So we're wrapping up and planning for the next school year. Ron?
Yeah, what we're recommending for school fees for the 23-24 school year is that fees will remain the exact same as last year. Textbook and materials fee will be $90. Technology repair fees, that's only for middle school, high school, will be at $25. Student ID fees, middle school, high school, $5. Student activity fees for middle school, high school will be $50. Exploratory tech fees, and that is just 7th grade only, that's $15. And then class fees in high school, $15. We also include the driver's ed fees for in-district, and that's $175. If you're out of district and wanting driver's ed, that's $225. Also with this are student meal prices, which are unchanged from last year. Breakfast for all grades will be $1.70. Lunch for elementary will be $275, middle school $285, and high school $295. So fees are not changing, same fees from last year.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we reduce the textbook fee from $90 to $70 for next year, for all levels, so that it affects every student.
Okay, I have a motion to reduce the fees from $70 to $90 at all 3 levels.
Textbook fee?
For
I believe that's the
From
one
90
for
to
everybody.
70.
For the textbook fee going from 90 to 70.
Yes.
Do I have a
I'm not
second?
understanding why that is. Can we discuss The reason.
Well, if, let's wait, I've got a motion and a second, now we can discuss it.
Chris, what kind of impact?
Melissa, Megan, somebody with an M, no. And I didn't even stay up all night.
How was that?
I'm trying to help you.
$20, how was that going to affect us, impact us?
What did we go down last year?
Yeah, I don't remember. I
It wa-
feel like it
We went
was,
from 115 to 90.
But
Yeah,
my
yeah,
note,
that's right.
but my notes from last time says we had a balance of 648,000 in an account, and I'm trying to find a comparable one now.
So the beginning balance this year was right at 580,000, so right around 600,000. But that's way more than just the fees in that fund. So that fund is textbook and revolving. So it's everything from the textbook fees that go in there and get kind of banked for a few years at a time. Here, just a little bit later this evening, we get considering a little over 300,000 in EL and math this time around, thank you. In math curriculum, we know that shouldn't be the carryover, would be down about 200,000, which is where we were at roughly 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of takes, we have those big expenses coming about every 2 to 4 years, really. And so, so the textbook fees go into that, but then also in that fund of that 500,000, that's also general fund money going in to fund everything from the teacher supply lines and the principal supply lines, activities, athletic and non-athletic, the clubs, all of those kinds of things. So there's more in that fund than just the fees that come in. So we're down, I mean, the fee just in revenues, we're down from FY20, we're down about $100,000 in fees.
So the expected, because you set the budget before we reduce the fees, is that correct? So when I'm looking at this document that you attached here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the spreadsheet says the sum there of the budgeted amount is 415, and then the sum of the year-to-date amount is, oh wait, no.
Is 341.
Year-to-date.
Not all of the, yeah, that's year-to-date. So if you, really the one that you want to look at is the textbook and materials fee, right in the middle. So we received about 164,000 in fees this year, down from 176 2 years ago, or a year ago, 193, 2 years ago, 236.
So another $20 reduction would,
Also, I just want to make sure, clarify, did we move some money in there from carryover last year?
Right, we do.
So that balance has been padded because at the end of our budget year last year, we knowing we have some big purchases and we're trying to build.
you spoke about those too last year, so yeah.
So have they been padded in the past, or just this figure here?
If you look at that bottom line there, the transfer line, that's what we're putting in.
What's been
each year.
added.
Right.
And didn't we talk about that during the audit, that we have also increased the administrative costs out of that line item? It was, I can't remember the amount, but it was quite a bit from the years previous. So you transferred money in, but then you added more additional administrative costs to that line?
We increased, last year was the first time we increased like the athletics and the activities and all of the individual student by about 1%, and they hadn't really changed over the last 4 or 5 years. Is that what you mean?
No, we discussed that because on that line item, we noticed that it was quite a bit higher on the administration line under that line item.
I'd have to go back.
And we talked about it. So $20 really won't affect us much because what do we have, 3,000 students? But not all those students pay the full amount. So I don't know what that amount is.
Would you repeat for us again what the free is free?
Free is free.
Free lunch
Reduced pays
kids,
half. Reduced pays half.
reduced pays half, so,
And it does.
but still has to pay the rest of the fees. It's only the
Right.
$90 fee that is reduced by half.
I think it does affect us for the standpoint, and I think that's what Chris was referring to, is yes, you have a big purchase tonight to approve, but also knowing 2 years, we have a ELA purchase, which this one is 300,000, for K math, you're looking at probably double that amount in 2 years. So once again, yes, to reduce seems simple, and we all want to reduce, and I love that we want, but at some point, we also have to pay the piper to know that there are bills that are gonna come due, and I think Shannon has referred to the days of where we didn't have enough money
Big
in textbook to buy textbooks, and I think that's so important that you understand. We're in a really good spot. Would we love to reduce? Absolutely, but sometimes it's just not, as knowing what's coming down the road.
So to clarify what y'all are saying, that, it'd be great, but physically irresponsible and in the future. But to be honest with you, I mean, we all would love to reduce those fees. If we reduce them by a smaller amount, would the impact be something that we can handle pretty much in the future? And I'm saying maybe we can't do 20 right now, but even 5, anything that'll help. I'm just saying, let's reduce it as much as we can so that if it ever does bounce up, we don't have to worry about it bouncing up as far.
The thing I would tell you is that textbooks don't get cheaper.
Yeah.
Library books don't get cheaper. Nothing gets cheaper. So when you're reducing, you are just widening your gap.
Yes.
If
But
we-
some of these fees, some of the things that come out of this activities fee and some of these other things, those costs will go away. Some of the rentals, is that a different line item that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, for like, are you talking like 4
Lewis
days
Field,
for the
yeah.
fields and stuff? Yeah, that's a separate fund.
So this is just that first
Yeah.
$90
That dollar.
that we have the spreadsheet to go with.
And kind of to build on that, I was looking at Shanna's presentation ahead. I won't steal her fire on that. And looking at the ELA coming down the board, books, library books, the curriculum books, they have been going up with inflation over the last few years. They have been leading inflation, just like a lot of things, going up anywhere from 6 to 9% a year. And we were able to take $25 off that line item last year when the prices were going up. And they continue to be going up. I wished we were at zero inflation now, but what they're saying, inflation's still hot, going at 4 to 5%. And so over the last 2 or 3 years, the materials, the library books, all of this have gone up, up, up. And like I said, I love that we were able to take $25 off last year, but as someone said here, to be fiscally responsible and not get back to where we were having to lease textbooks and have a completely different budget for. We were at one time, we were the only district in the state, I believe, that were financing our textbooks the way we did because we didn't set enough budget for them. That was over the last 15 or 20 years.
The history,
A few years since we presented more than $100,000, like $200,000-$300,000. So it's taken a while to build this up because this money doesn't just purchase, the hundreds of thousands. It's day-to-day purchases from principals, building budgets, everyday teacher supports and materials they need. So it impacts the everyday business of the district, not just these bulk, once every 2-4 years that we come to you. Am I correct in that, Chris?
Well, I'm sure that there's, editions of the books that increased through the years, which means you're going to be buying the newer editions, and they're going to be higher priced, and you're not going to want to stay back and not buy them just because you cannot afford them. So those, I'm sure that happens. And then I read something about that you're going to be installing a new math curriculum, is that correct?
That's right, that's what we'll come next. And you
Okay.
can ask Shauna, who will actually be stealing her thunder. She's gonna say, this is not the bells and whistles offer that's going to be presented. Like, we bartered back and forth about $150,000 for them to come down. So even what's being presented is just pretty much, keep what you have, we're going to recycle, reuse. This is just what impacts student instruction. So it could be well lot more expensive because things do cost a lot.
Exactly.
So, help me understand too, if we stay, and I realize you don't have a crystal ball, but we don't make any changes in the 2 years when we're having to do the investment for the ELA, are we going to be looking at increasing at that time, or is this no change now helping us stay flat?
I would say it's
No
possible.
change now should mean that you're flat, because we would anticipate somewhere around 160,000 a year that would go in, and that's what kind of sits aside. Everything else, all the day-to-day, everything else that goes in there is funded with general fund that gets transferred in there right now.
In the 2 year, when we're looking at a very large investment. I guess my concern is for people who are budgeting to have a pretty steep increase that year that we're going to make the investment can really take some people under. I mean, we had that with gas prices just recently. So I'm concerned about the board that has to make the decision to raise the rates by a lot.
These are decisions that are important, and that $20 would help families and kids. When you're talking about families that bring
It's the same
five.
amount of money in 2 years if we have to ask them to double or triple it. I mean, it's the same important money.
If that's the case, but we have been moving things and have had a surplus in that item for at least 3 years. And now we are pulling out more administrative costs. It could be quite a different part of our budget. And saving these families, that $20 for especially multiple children would be very helpful.
I don't know when you say administrative costs, everything in Fund 55, which is a textbook fund, is going to either textbook, student materials, the clubs, the activities, it's the day-to-day things that involve students.
I think maybe something that is confusing, it goes to the building principals fund a lot of times, and the principals fund may be seen as an administrative fund, but this, if you want to talk about that.
Look like an administrative expense. One would be, because this fund also is where we collect the building level fees, so the shop fee and whatever else. And then they get sent back out. In the audit, that gets tagged as an administrative fee because it is sent administratively to the building.
But those are already set. They pay for those fees.
Correct.
And those parents will pay for them because they're taking advantage of them.
Right, but that's what, when you say administrative fee, that's what's reported in the audit as administrative fee, is when we send that building send that money to the building activity fund. And then the other would be, yes, when we set aside X amount of dollars for the principal's supply lines in the building, those get tagged in the audit as an administrative fee. All of those things are general fund money that's being transferred over there already, though. It's not the fee, it's not the textbook fee. The textbook fee sits in that fund until we go to spend it on textbooks.
We bumped this fee up when we didn't have full-day funding for kindergarten. Now we do. We've had great opportunities for ESSER funds to take a lot of our budget items, and we are in a great shape that we've never been in years. This time we was $0, and it was like $30, and we bumped it up to $150 to take care of that issue because we were like, it was very tight, and we had to do something. But that was something we started, and we not only did it for just because of the kindergarten, but we've done it for every year, and those families have had to pay that for every student they've had, not just for kindergarten, but for every year. And it's time that we drop it back down. We're still above several districts. We had the list last year, and we're still not below a lot of school districts, so why not bring it down to where we are comparable, and so we're not charging more than some. I mean, there's no difference between going to private school and coming to Hayes High. or to any school.
No. You're generalizing the cost of enrollment fees from school to school without giving us any data that it's just as expensive to go to the public school as a private school. If you're going to say that, give us some
Well, give me
figures.
some data that's saying that it's going to hurt when we have plenty to take care of the amount that we got now, and we'll have a surplus.
Okay.
And the price isn't going to be that much.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, I've got a request call for a vote. I've got a motion on the table.
I have another question.
Okay.
Please. On the student activity fee for middle school and the high school for $50, as a parent, where's that $50 going for? Quickly, I mean.
So that would be.
Class fees?
Yeah, it goes into the activity fund, which would be like class fees, it'd be the clubs and organizations, things like that.
So it's going into so if my kid goes to Ace High, or she goes to middle school, $50 is going to that administrator to pay for clubs and stuff, whether or not my kid's involved in those?
Yeah, it'd be any of those funds have to be spent on kid expenses. It's not necessarily one for one, so you may pay $50 in fees, you may not be in those clubs or something like that. But it is across and it has to be used for the.
But it's clubs and activities.
Clubs, activities, things like that.
But you said classes, that's where instruments come from. That's where repairing and keeping instruments and music and purchasing things for the classroom. That's how we keep things accessible to kids.
Correct.
And field
Correct.
trips is one of the things that
But we
I,
have parents paying for those things that their kids aren't in band, and some kids are in this that you're paying, other parents are paying for, vice versa too. So it's not direct fee because my kid's involved in that one. It's
Right.
overbroad to catch them all.
school-wide.
So at this
Yes,
point,
it
the vote, though, that we're the issue right now is
Right.
just that line item, not all the fees together.
Right.
We're just voting right now to
To-
reduce the textbook fee from 90 to 70.
Right.
Just so we,
That's correct. I just want to know what the
Yeah,
$50
And just to make sure you're seeing, and that revenue right there is what goes into the textbook fund. That's what's down over the last 4 years. It's down about $100,000, which is fine. The carryover in that fund is up because of things like ESSER. We've been able to put more money in there, which gets us in a position to be able to make a purchase tonight and still have about $200,000 left over, so that moving down the road, we're getting closer. So that the fees have gone down in that line for textbooks. The whole fund, the carryover has gone up because you've transferred more general fund money into that fund.
Okay, I am going to call for the vote of the motion and the second to lower the textbook fee from $90 to $70. All in favor, say yes.
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 All opposed, say no.
no.
Jess, I hit the wrong button. I need to change mine.
I think it's up there in the top.
You get a short time to change. Oh, see that
It's
red
up
at the very
it's up in the
top?
top right.
It
It's
says
gone.
change
It's
it.
not on
It's
here.
not on mine.
Really top right corner, way up there.
No. Oh,
There it is.
there it is.
Way up there.
Yes.
Okay, the motion failed.
Okay. I make a motion to leave the fees for next year at textbook fees flat at $90, the same as the current school year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I want to clarify, are we voting on everything presented? Okay,
Right.
then that motion, I was just confused.
yeah,
We're not just doing textbook, everything remains
Yeah,
the
but
same as presented.
the change would be.
Though I wasn't in support of the $20, I do feel we could, if maybe lower it some, so I think we ought to consider that, so I'll put that
Okay.
out there. But you've already made the motion. so-
Well,
But I
we
want
can
that for the
vote.
discussion.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? Okay, I will call for the vote of the motion to leave our fees, the textbook fee at $90, the same as,
Everything,
Well,
yeah, the whole, you're talking
You're talking
everything.
175. We're talking
Well,
190.
leaving all the fees the same as last
Talking
year.
about the whole
Yeah.
package.
Okay, right.
Okay.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor of that motion, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, vote no.
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 Yes, where are we at?
The motion passed 4-3.
Okay, motion passed 4-3. Thank you for the discussion. 6.2, K-8 math textbook resource adoption.
Yes, I want to ask Shauna as Michael to actually present this and thank her as she comes up to the podium. She chairs our math subject area committee. I know she has some help this year, Marie Henderson and Alice and Kichikoki and Matt. They're great resources, but Shauna carried over, so I'll let her present this.
Okay.
I'll let you, Shauna.
I get to ask for the money. All right. So being the math sec chair, we have actually been using our math curriculum that we have currently for quite a few years, past the 6 years that is usual. The adoption curriculum is usually that 6-year time frame. And I didn't look before we came in here, but I know that we are at least 10 years into the middle school curriculum and at least 7 into the elementary curriculum. And so we started the process last year, actually, of looking at the middle school curriculum, and we followed KSDE puts out a recommended phase looking at how to pick your curriculum. And so we followed all of those phases. It's a flow chart, and that's what's, I think, attached on the board minutes there. But that was the flow chart that we followed, because we thought, this is a huge important decision, and we want to make the right decision. And even last year at the middle school, we ended up piloting 2 different types, and at the end of the year, we weren't sold on either one of them, just being the one that we needed. And so we asked for another year with our current, while we went back to the drawing board to look at it. Knowing that also then K-5 would be coming up this next year as well. So it kind of got thrown all together, but our middle school just wasn't sold on either of the ones, and we just didn't want to settle for something that we weren't 100% in on. And so there's 2 pieces of information tonight. The middle school has chosen a program called Envision, and it's produced by Savvis, and they're a very reliable company. It's been around for a very long time. When our teachers did the pilot on this, we had the pilot for, I don't know, I think it was a month total, and teachers kind of finished up at different times. And then I even had some teachers that were like, can we still use that stuff? Because they were really liking it so much. And so that's the recommendation from the middle school, is Envision. And Shanna, do you want me just to go ahead and give the total price on each one, or?
You can, I think the recommendation we have is the total together, but they might want to know
Okay.
how they split out, yeah.
Okay, so as far as the 6-8 quote, came out to be about $102,000 for a 6-year.
Can you repeat that, please?
$102,000. If you want specifics, $102,208.74.
Yeah, we've got it here on
You've
our
got it?
screens.
Okay. And then the elementary chose to, they actually did a pilot of 2 other ones with the knowledge that the one they are currently using, which is called Go Math, has a new updated version. And so we piloted Envision at the elementary, as well as a program called Into Math. Go Math is what they currently use, and that's what they ended up going with because of the updated version, and they liked it, and they are familiar with it, but also know that the updates have added even more to it than the previous version. And so with Go Math, and this is the one that Shanna did a lot of bartering on, as far as just trying to get the price down a little bit, but the total cost for the Go Math is $216,803.93, and that is for a 6-year as well.
And Shauna, just to clarify and maybe even repeat for redundancy purposes, but I think it's important. It says here, your committee spent 2 years researching, and you were able to hands-on implement, get both teacher input, student input. I think that is just amazing, the level of commitment that you have put in your team, you and your team have put into researching something to this matter. Thanks to the supreme, what would you call her, negotiator, Ms. Shannon, so to get the cost down. I would, Mr. President, I feel like that when you have something as thoroughly researched and vetted as what we have, I think it moves me to recommend approving K-8 math instructional resources as presented for the total sum of $319,012.67.
I second it.
I have another.
Okay.
I have another question.
Shall we just open it up for discussion, and Shauna available? Okay,
May I proceed?
sure.
6-year lease, is that just gives you right to the copyrights to make the copies, or are they supplying those materials for 6 years?
They're supplying those materials for
So
6
the
years.
kids get the workbooks and
So they
stuff?
get the workbooks every year. We just have to put in an order in the summertime for how many do we need for kindergarten, how many do we need for first.
And do we have a range for 1,000 or is 1,200, or we're guessing how many we're going to have at that?
Yeah, I mean, normally, at the middle school, for instance, our 8th grade is about 265 this year, and so we said, it's not going to exceed that much. Usually, we just kind of gave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, but there is a little bit of a range in
So
there.
materials are supplied at that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So all the cost is paid up front. You don't have to pay it every year?
I believe so, Shanna, is that true? Okay.
So does that allow us to get books for everybody, or just the ones that?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, after
you.
6 years, do you look at a different curriculum, or do you, is that
Yep,
right?
so
Okay.
we'll start the process all over
Okay,
again in just a
okay.
couple
Year
years. Yeah,
Okay.
and
That's what makes teachers old.
the biggest change in textbooks over the last 10 years has been the digital component and the digital licensing that's going along with it. And so you're paying for not only the digital piece that comes with it, but you're also paying for the workbook and the teacher's materials, so.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
And I know you look at the state curriculum and the testing that goes on with math clear through K-12, and have done all the background of how this will move our students up.
And Sean, you might add, the timing of this is good in that we're moving to math with MTSS. And so we're going to give teachers a semester too, because it is new for the elementary and then the middle school. And then our math consultant from the state team, we're really going to look at math instruction and the data, and dig in, and what interventions and best instructional practice. So if the timing of having a curriculum and focusing on tier 1 and then looking at interventions is appropriate with moving on to math in addition to keeping diesel going. So.
Yeah, and the Go Math, the K-5 curriculum comes with a supplemental intervention program called WAGGLE. And I think that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to see how it works. But in the past, when we've had intervention programs, we've had to seek those out, but then also pay additional costs for them. And so this little intervention program will be included in that cost. So I think that will be helpful and also just beneficial for all of our students. Instead of having to say, oh, we only need 100 licenses, now we can have licenses for each kid.
And I just correct my math here, but that's based on the numbers that you just gave us with 265 8th graders, it's less than $22 a kid.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. I think the student editions are like 100 and something. Depending on the grade level, they range from like 120 to the algebra ones are going to be more expensive. But yeah, they get
average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The in-service is by the representative is included in this price? So there'll be no cost for that?
In GOMAT, it is, that was one of the things we negotiated, that is part of it at no cost, and then there's some on-demand, I think, with Envision too. So we may do something beyond that for our teachers, but that'll come out of Title II, and there's dollars to spend that on. So I like to keep that separate, Bill, than the actual materials because of the funding source.
And that in service is just for the first year? Or do they do it for 6 years?
Whatever we need it to be, we just pay some
Oh.
additional costs.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I call for the vote.
Okay, I've got a call for a vote. Any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the K-8 math textbook. I cannot see how much that was for on my screen.
319,
As presented.
So it won't be any more than $319,012.
$12.
Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, say no. Thank you,
Yes, everyone.
Shauna, thank you.
Thanks for the work you put in.
And please share our thanks with the committee
You too, Shannon.
for their work.
Okay, 6.3, Hayes High School furniture purchase.
Yeah, I'm going to have Mr. Henderson come up and present some ideas, things that he'd like to do for Hayes High with some furniture purchases.
You have it. You want me to put it over here?
As he's getting ready to do that, I'll just talk a little bit about the finance side of it. Pretty typical over the last few years. At the building level, we talked about our textbook fund. Outside of that, the building principals have some money set aside. We set aside some money from capital outlay for building improvements. Each building has their own line item. Over the last few years, if you remember, the high school, especially over the last really 5 years, has been creative in storing up and using some of that capital outlay money along with some activity funds, not necessarily the fees always, but also some donations that through like Dylan's and some of the other things that generate activity fund money, and combining those over the last 5 years. Some of the projects at the high school have been the bleachers, will be the competition volleyball nets, the band uniforms, all of those things that have been worked out kind of in the same manner. We combine some activity fund money with the district's capital outlay.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for us, it was really about the intentionality of using our capital outlay and the activity accounts that he was talking about in looking at the environment of the high school and how we can impact every single kid, kind of what you were talking about, Mr. Viner, about, how do we make sure every kid is impacted by the money that we spent. The place that everybody goes is the library and the cafeteria, undoubtedly. And for us, our cafeteria tables are not even food rated. They were never made to be wiped as much as they are. And when I start to think about the impact on our kids of walking in, the big thing for us, the big why is we have a lot of kids in our school that will never walk into the new high school. And so every day we want to cultivate that environment that says this is an amazing place. We have we're second to none in terms of our students and our staff. And so some of the intentionality behind that is to impact the place where they go the most, which is the cafeteria. So we currently have about 275 seats in there. This is the same, except it's much more modern. So you're talking cafe height tables with nice stools. You have booths. The thing in the middle is called a serpentine, so it's got seating all the way through it. Just think college campus, think the Union. Again, that's very similar to what's going to be happening in the new Hayes High. So again, it's that same mindset of trying to already start to cultivate some of those ideas. And then round tables. It's a lot easier for me to talk to Lori if I look right at you versus going like this to someone at the end of the table. So simply put, we want to impact the environment. So you'll see here round tables. I went around and talked to students. I had several different colors. They wanted that modern and bright. And if you look at that lunchroom now, you're talking, this does not show the serpentine, but lots of circles. You have the higher cafe height tables that you see there. There would be booths in here as well, going back to that first drawing there. Yeah, it kind of gives you that idea. Again, idea is to get kids talking and to make this a place that people want to be in to impact their learning. Some of the finishes, kind of what that would look like.
So
Do
my
you think these will move
question-
into the new high school?
What's that?
You think these will last into the new high school for a
Sure,
few years?
well, they could be in the
Stay.
new high school, they could be in the middle school, they could be, where do we feel them best in our team at 489? It would be money spent. And yes, if they end up in the middle school, that's great, because we know we have new. Or if it's some combination of, if the middle school says, I don't want the serpentine, take that with you, that's less furniture we have to buy in the new place, so.
Oh, so at this point, it's not determined whether it'll stay in the building that's going to be used right now, or if it'll go to the new building? That's
Yeah,
up-
because the furniture element of the bond is still ongoing as it pertains to the new building. But like I said, this would be, even when I was walking around talking to students about, what would this look like if we had circles or whatever, they're just coming used to saying, you mean for that new school? And that's talking to a kid that won't be there. And I'm like, no, like you, what if you were sitting here and you had, they're like, oh, that would be, so that's kind of where, that's the why.
I think it's an exciting way to, because the bond passed, and because of the plans we're making, the direction we're going, it frees up some money from our capital outlay, but also frees up some creativity to be able to show the juniors and seniors that won't be in that new building.
And
Yeah.
everything's mobile. I mean, that
Yeah.
serpentine is still, you can move it for other purposes and.
You bet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're also talking about having breakfast served out of there instead of on those mobile carts, because the second we do that, it expands what can be served at breakfast. Again, what does it feel like to come to school every day? We're even talking about what doors are open to funnel kids in the morning to go to a place like this so that it increases their engagement with their school, so.
This is the quote from Creative Commons.
Then their library is the other piece of that.
But that's the quote is from Creative Commons, is that
No,
the?
it's a quote from Scott Rice.
From Scott Rice, and what is his?
But it's not, it's just a company. It's called Scott Rice.
Okay, that's his, okay. Was this bid out to anybody that wants
Yes,
to?
purchased through cooperative bid, so it's all been bid.
Do we have the different bids, or?
They have the contract number where they do, so it's similar to the Greenbush contract, it's a state contract where they go in, pre-bid all of the stuff, and then they show us what the discount is. It was about, what was the discount?
53%.
Yeah, about 53% off, but it's all, so it all meets all the state bidding requirements, because they go bid it in mass, and then we get to.
But it's not through Greenbush, it's through?
It's through.
The state?
Yeah, through one of the state accepted bidding contracts, yes.
Do you know which
The
one?
contract numbers are on the bids.
So I was looking those high seating, those chairs, which ones are those?
The cafe height, so they would be the
Yeah,
ones.
the stools, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They look like that. See how the taller seats are on the bottom right there. One thing that we're not currently doing in our cafeteria is utilizing the wall. So if you remove the mirror and you put tables along the perimeter, I've got 120 kids that are not even in the middle of the functionality of the cafeteria. So we're getting a lot of numbers by utilizing the room better. Then that frees up the middle to have the booths, the serpentine and the circle tables.
I saw some picture that is more of a stool, not a chair.
Correct, just the.
Which
so
one is that?
All of the outside,
Okay, can you point out which
all of these.
item,
Let's see.
which one is the stools? I just was curious what those were, what you were paying for those. And how many, is there 30 of those or
Are you looking at
100?
the stools in the commons now? Are there stools in the?
So if you're calling those stools there.
No, they were
did you
like
switch
a
to
square
creative?
top,
Okay.
no back.
So so then the other place that we would like to put our money is what is called the Creative Commons.
Okay.
We just made up the name. Basically think this, The thing about Hayes High right now is we have kids laying on the floor. It's just the way it is. If they're going to do arts and crafts and they're going to be creative, they're sitting on the floor. In the new building, we have 2 Creative Commons because DLR is starting to use our word now. Creative Commons means, the other one that they use for this is they call it a makerspace. But makerspace almost always implies machines and 3D. We have that. It's on the other end of the building. This, I want you to think of like Hobby Lobby. So a teacher would take this setup, that rendering, and they could take their G1 class to the Creative Commons, which is inside of our library, and then inside of those cabinets is everything they need to be creative. That's markers and paper and construction. I mean, be creative in there. And then that way they're not having to sit on the floor. And again, when we start to talk about the innovation that's coming, when we start the new school, that we have 2 of those rooms in the new high school. So if that's where we're headed, then the kids of now also need to have that opportunity. At least that's the thinking behind that.
So where are you going to put this in the current high school?
It's in the
In the
library.
library.
That's going to be in the library.
Yeah, that picture even has our quote that's on there. So right now, there's a table where the librarian sits, and we've already had an opportunity to talk to Karen Wilson, who's our new librarian, about moving to the other side where the instructors are, and then that takes its place. Right now, that's where debate and forensics is, but of course, now we have a debate and forensics teacher who is going to be in the school so that we can have that space back, and then that allows kids to spread out and be creative.
So you're planning on taking this over to the new high school?
Sure could, absolutely. Well, and again,
Or leave it.
we-
Or leave
Or
it.
leave it
Or
there
leave
for
it.
the junior high, because they'll need something similar too.
there are 2 rooms in the new school that are called Creative Commons. They are classrooms just like any other classroom that you could ask to go be in. It's just that all of that material now, we are going to supply. Again, we start talking about where does some of that activity fund, where does that money go? We will outfit this so a teacher has everything they need to be creative with students. It's all right there, and everyone has access to it.
Do you really think you're going to keep teenagers off the floor with furniture?
Oh, they can still be on the floor. I would just like to give them options. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
I just want them to have options.
So
And
I'm
will it
trying to
be-
find those chairs on your bid. Can you help me with that? Is it the stacking chair or
No, it's on
The
stool?
stacking chair is in the cafeteria quote.
This
You
is,
go to the
this is the second one.
Yeah, the second one.
So my question, while they're looking that up.
Sure.
At that point, will people have to reserve the space, or if it's free, it's free? Is that?
A little bit of both. And I would say our folks in the library would know how to handle that.
It's 2 from the bottom.
Our goal, I think,
Chairs
on
are.
the
Mr.
on the
Clark.
macro
Oh.
level,
2 from
is
the
to
bottom.
give people
That's where the
options.
chairs are. Mr. Henderson, I have 2 questions.
Sure.
So we're looking at $122,000 approximately, and I guess maybe somebody else too. So part of it's capital outlay, part of it's the activity account. Can you break that down for me? How much is coming out of each? Do you know?
Yeah, it would come from multiple capital outlets.
We're about 35 in capital outlay, right? And the rest of it would be building funds.
And by building funds, that's everything.
That's
from
your
what-
Pepsi money and...
Pepsi, yeah. It's
all the-
all of those things, yeah.
All your, okay. Then, my second question would probably be more this way. The Super Deluxe Sam's Club white tables, chairs, that's going to be probably purple waved? Are we going to, have we thought about disposal
We can
of?
always purple wave it, but I think also, I mean,
We could use them?
there's places that we can probably use a few tables. I don't necessarily know if we need as many as will be available.
And there's some that are starting to fail out. So
Yeah.
there'll be some that get trashed, some that get sold, some that get.
Rex would wear out the plastic?
Wipe down.
Well, and that's some of this conversation too, is these things simply need upgraded. And now it's keeping an eye on what the future looks like and trying to bring them
I'm not
together.
disagreeing. Mr. Pallister?
Yes.
If I can hit my fast little button here. I make a motion to approve the purchase of cafeteria and media center furniture for the Hayes High School from Scott Rice for $122,275.18.
And I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the seating at the high school cafeteria, tables, media center, furniture. Any further? I call for the vote. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The summer, I mean, it'll be for next school year. That'll be in
Yeah, absolutely. I want them to walk in to that space.
And and Sean is starting to dream how much room they will have in a few years.
Yes.
Yeah, the lunchroom will triple, quadruple.
Okay, 6.4, personnel transactions.
Yes, I would just like to celebrate and congratulate Joanne Wassinger for her service of 29 years. I was fortunate to hire her back in 1994, and she started as a 3-hour para in special ed and has served hundreds of teachers and thousands of students over the year. And her kids went through Hayes system, and she's just contributed greatly to our district, so I wish her well.
I would piggyback on that because my wife had the opportunity to work with her in 3 different schools as a library clerk, and outstanding staff. And like I've said before, with all of her retirements in the classified, talking about people that stayed 29 years as a part of our classified staff, it is outstanding. So thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. A motion?
Kyle, Shanna, myself, and Bill.
We need a 5-minute break in there, too.
Okay, how many minutes did you say? 10 minutes with a 5-minute break before. So we will be going into executive session until
I just say 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock?
Yeah, no, we start at 8.
Start at 8, so, yeah.
So we'll come back 8:10.
Okay, 8:10. We will come back to this room into open session and then go back into another executive session. All in favor, vote yes.
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 All opposed, vote no.
I seconded it.
Oh.
I was premature.
Yeah, we had a second.
Good.
And you're getting your curious, aren't you?
Just waiting.
Thank you.
Okay. There it is. We will be back in here for executive session in 5 minutes.